Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was the closing session of the 39th AU meeting in Addis Ababa in the headquarters of the African Union for the presidents and heads of states and governments of the AU. This conference is the 39th conference held in Addis Ababa under the theme of water and sanitation. This topic was a main topic on discussion between the heads of states of the African Union and leaders and government leaders of the African Union, also talking about many topics, climate change, sustainable development. And now we have over the phone Ambassador Raouf Saad to talk more about the 39th round of the African Union heads of states. Good afternoon, Ambassador Raouf.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us today in Nile TV International. Ambassador Raouf, we've been following for the last 2 days the AU meetings in Addis Ababa. Tell us more about the meetings and the highlights of the meetings.
Well, in fact, in order to talk about this summit, it needs a lot of time. But nevertheless, I think to put it in just a few bullets, this is one of the most important summits for the EU in view of the regional and international developments that are taking place. You know, the world is going through maybe unprecedented transformations, and you know, disputes, military or political, is taking place everywhere, and particularly in Africa. Africa is subjected and suffering from different problems and crises, whether we are talking about political, military, climate, environmental, and but meanwhile the attention is being increasing, you know, on Africa for different reasons. One is considered like a last resort for food security, for economic opportunities due to the wealth of economic and industrial and energy opportunities there. Meanwhile, you know, the attention is rather further increasing due to the problems and crises that are taking place or emerging to be a crisis will not affect not only Africa, but would reflect immediately and directly on the international situation. For example, if you are talking about the problems in the Horn of Africa, that will affect the Indian Ocean, that will affect the Red Sea, it would affect the Suez Canal. In fact, you know, all these troubles that are taking place that would affect the world trade, the navigation, world navigation. So problems are very interconnected and complicated. I think one of the major problems, you know, that we are facing, that is on its first phases, is the recognition by Israel of Somaliland, which is reflecting, you know, a kind of very, very serious concerns on the region, on the Horn of Africa, and including on Egypt itself, and went by in return, you know, on the international arena. I think one of the two major things, you know, that would highlight, you know, the kind of importance that are being given to the summit, and you know, the importance of the African continent. One is that, you know, the call, the direct strong call by the UN Secretary General that the AU should be part of the Security Council. This is quite an important development that would reflect that if you think about it a bit deeper, it may solve the problem of, you know, who will represent Africa in the Security Council. In other words, it goes over and above, you know, the individual countries, but would take the AU as, you know, a reflective, our representative of Africa in the Security Council, Second is, that what is the seems to be a possible or done action, which is inviting the EU to G20 or admitting the AU and the G20. So you can see. And third, maybe that you should remember the meeting that was held, and the first time for the G20 on food security that was held in last year in Egypt. So altogether, but I think it coincides, all these developments, are coinciding with the chairmanship of Egypt of the Council of Peace and Security and the EU, which would enable Egypt not to lead. I mean, we should, disregard this kind of slogans, but in order to guide the African efforts that have practically started efficiently and effectively from the presidency of President Sisi of the EU in 2019. Let alone finally that that the world is facing a growing problem of climate change, and of course the withdrawal of the United States from the environment agreement would affect. But what is more of concern is the aggravation of climate problems, while the retreat of the developed countries to provide, or to commit their obligation, financial and technological obligations, in order to support the whole world and to mitigate the climate change implications, as well as for the developing countries who are the least emitters of emissions and the most suffering from the emissions. So as you can see, that's why the EU is becoming a kind of a core of concern, but meanwhile is the window for opportunities.
Yes, Ambassador Raouf, how do you view Egypt's vital role in the African Union so far?
Well, as I was just saying, the Egypt's presidency, or the chairmanship of the Council for Peace and Development is very timely, in terms of that Egypt has a lot of experience and exercises of success in different areas, whether you are talking about economic reforms, or whether you are talking about the settlement of disputes, whether you are talking about the environment and climate success in Egypt, let alone this kind of a very special historic position that Egypt is enjoying in Africa. But this is by itself, it's not enough. But it's it's how to merge between theory and deeds, and this is what Egypt represents as the corner and the core of stability. That one of the best performers of economic reforms and achieving political objectives and an experience that Egypt, and this is why we should not confine ourselves to how important. But
well, Ambassador Raouf Saad, the former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for joining us today on Nile TV International.